Hey everyone, it's Evangeline here at etrailer. Today we have the Saris MHS DUO 2-bike rack. We're taking a look at how it fits here on our 2023 GMC Terrain. We've done a bunch of different bike racks on this vehicle already. This is going to be the one that's going to offer a lot of weight capacity, a lot of add-on capability, and a really solid tilt that works very well with our car. To tilt the rack away, you do have this really large lever, but you also have this stopper bracket. That's going to be important because when you pull that lever and then you drop the rack to the ground, this will actually make contact with the ground, giving support for your bike rack, but also slightly limiting the tilt away, which is going to be shown when you do have your slightly longer handlebars on your mountain bikes. So the tilt is pretty impressive compared to some other racks that stop before it gets that far. So when you do lift up on your hatch door, you'll see where it almost makes contact with the bike's handlebars. Giving your bike a little push will allow the door to clear, and then you have full access to your hatch. You can reach in there and grab whatever you need. If you're the type of person that likes to switch out your shoes in your hatch, this is going to be a great option to do so. So what I do recommend doing is if you do have a mountain bike with a longer handlebar, say 29 inches like what we have here, set your power lift to the 3/4 opening option. That way you can be there to make sure that your bike is out of the way when the door opens. Otherwise, if you have a road bike or a bike with shorter handlebars, you're going to be perfectly fine with a tilt-away feature of the Saris MHS DUO. When you're done grabbing whatever you need or doing whatever you needed to do, just lift up on the rack, it snaps into place, and now you're ready to hit the road. That whole process might be a little trickier when you have this fully loaded up with the bikes because of how this secures the bike by the front and the rear wheel. Even if you have, let's say, an electric bike with a step-through frame or a cruiser bike, doesn't matter because there's zero frame contact. You're able to carry all of them. Now this adds a little extra oomph to the rack because not only do you have the front and rear wheel mount, you also have a front chock as well as a rear wheel strap, giving you that extra support for that extra weight. What we're going to do here today is we're going to start by removing the rear wheel strap. You press the lever, lift the strap out, and this strap can actually slide back and forth for those different wheelbases. You're then going to go over to that mount and press this lever. What I've found as a good trick to do this is push in on the mount as you press the lever, and that should give you a little bit more ease when it comes to removing that. So we'll keep that sort of in place as we go over to the front. So once that front wheel mount is also loose, that can go all the way down to the ground. Make sure you have contact with your bike at all times so it doesn't tilt all the way down towards your vehicle. And from this point, you can either try to ramp it down this way, ramp it down towards the back. You can even purchase a separate add-on ramp that you can use with this rack if you find that lifting the bike off or on to the rack is just a little too tricky. What I do recommend doing is if your bikes are not on the rack, you can go ahead and bring everything back into its neutral position. That way you're not that person at the trailhead with the arms sticking out in the way of other vehicles or riders. There's a bunch of extra features to the Saris MHS as well. These are the Duo trays, which are the extra heavy-duty premium trays, integrated cable locks, things like that. You can actually switch these trays out for a basket or a lighter tray. We also have the lights and wiring included with our kit today, which are sold separately from the basic kit. All of this creates a large but also very versatile and feature-rich system on the back of your Terrain. So how much does that all take up? Well, measuring from the bumper to the end of the rack is actually only 33 inches, about 2 inches more than the average 2-bike platform rack. It looks like it does sit a little bit close to the ground though. So if you measure for where this handle sits or this stopper sits, that's 11.5 inches. Compare that to your shank, which is 8.5 inches off the ground. So So you do have to be a little careful on those steep inclines like driveways and hills, and you want to make sure you're not bottoming out. But if you are, fortunately, this is there to protect your bike rack as well as your bikes. Now when you load your bikes up, from the ground to the cradle, that's going to be 18.5 inches. So pretty low, where you're not lifting your 80-pound bike super high up, which is going to be a definite perk for you. Remember that handle we pulled earlier? We're going to pull that again, but instead of tilting the rack down, we're going to lift up against the vehicle. We have two options here. We have our 45-degree angle, or we can fold all the way up to the vehicle. You are going to have to be very careful about this position though, because if your wheel mounts are open in any way, they may make contact with your car. So what I recommend doing is just getting used to the habit of having it sitting just like this. So let's take some measurements. Measuring from the bumper to the end of the car, or end of the rack, which is this handle, that's going to be 22 inches. So pretty big difference compared to when it was folded down. You'll have it in this position when you're just driving around town and you're not planning on taking your bikes out just yet. And this is what your bike rack looks like from behind your vehicle. You can see it does look like it takes up a lot of space. It is pretty hefty and bulky, but a lot of things are still visible. Now it does cover up a good amount of your license plate when you look at it straight on, but your backup camera does technically sit right where that handle is and a little bit above it. So with that distance out, you'll still be able to see if there's any cars or people standing directly behind you. Obviously, your lights as well as your window are visible, although we do have that add-on light kit also mimicking our lights of our car if you have a wiring harness. So all that works together to give you most of the function of your car. What you do lose out on though is being able to open up your hatch. Even with this in that 45-degree angle, we weren't able to fully open at the door. So if you did need to get into your cargo area, I do recommend dropping your rack down to its hilt, and that's when you can get in there and grab what you need. With the different bike racks that I've tried with our Terrain here, all of them have different pros and cons. I really like the MHS because I think it's super strong, super sturdy, and being able to tilt away a decent amount and still be able to open up the hatch almost completely is awesome. Something that things like the tire hold didn't have. But if you are looking for alternatives, maybe the MHS is going to be a bit more of a premium rack at a premium price, and you really just need something to carry around your extra heavy electric bikes, well, you may want to consider something like the Swagman E-Spec. It doesn't have near as many features as the MHS, is a little trickier to get your bikes loaded and unloaded, but it has that same weight capacity, plus the E-Spec does sit even more compact and is a lot smaller on your Terrain compared to the MHS. It's also easier to store in your garage. So it really depends on what you're looking for in a bike rack. If you're looking for a lot of weight capacity, you have a heavy step-through bike, and you're just looking for the best bike rack to carry it, keep it safe, but also you want almost all the features of your vehicle maintained, this is going to be a great option for you. This was a look at the Saris MHS DUO 2-bike platform rack, and you saw it on the 2023 GMC Terrain.